Welcome to the second part of making easy procedural landscape videos. Today we will learn how to shade our mountain and ground with rocks too. So first of all, I take textures from a free website known as ambientcg.com. It is an awesome website for free PBR materials, and in this project I used the textures from polyheaven.com and ambient CG. My HDRIs are from HDRI Haven, which is I think the best place for online HDRIs now. Selected this aerial rocks texture from polyheaven.com, which give a quite nice feeling and displacement. So I connected the color map to the base color from the main textures pack, which you have to unzip and download to a separate file. And yes, and the principal BSDF to the surface, and then the roughness map to the roughness modifier. Then you have to insert a displacement map connected with the displacement image texture and connected to the displacement socket. This would give real life displacement to your scene. One thing which I go to the settings and changed it to displacement and bump, and this only works in cycles. I've done here in EV, and if everything looks too much jagged, then try changing the displacement scale a little bit down. Now we will make the water material, which is just a simple metallic material, so that it reflects the real life environment, such as a shiny metal reflects it and changes roughness to 0 and add a little bit of bump into it. Now first of all, we will add a plane and position it appropriately with the camera. After we have done positioning the plane, we can start with the material. So to make the water material, first I will add a principled BSDF, yes, and I will make the metallic to 1 and the roughness to 0. We already have the water, but water is not so plain, so we need to add some bump to it. For that I will need a UV map, which will get the location of those vertices, and now we add a pop map connected to the normal, and now we'll add a noise texture as a value of those map. First I'll connect the UV map to the normal, and then I will also add a mapping texture, which will help us to scale up or down those maps. And now we'll add a scale. We go with a detail of 2 and a scale of 31 or so. As you can see, some distortion effects are here already, and this is looking water, and you can change the scale to 6, and now we have water. So that's a very easy way to create water. And if you want moving water, you just animate those frames together, these points on this X and Y axis, and it will look like moving water. G-Scatter is a powerful add-on for scattering. It even is better than GeoNodes, but it depends on your preference. It has many effect layers for which you can pile a substance over substance, and with the release of their new patch, it is actually very good, and the best of all, it is free. Once you have downloaded the add-on and it is it is installed in the Blender and it is checked in the preferences, you can just take a plane or sculpt it as I did here to make some uneven surfaces. Then click N on the properties panel and go to G-Scatter. By default you will see that emitter is there, and you can select the eyedropper option or go from here and select the plane. You have to select the plane here, and then you have to select the small books option, which is G-scatter asset library, and if you just click it, you will see kinds of assets you could bring in. This is the free version, so there is you would get about 1 2 3, you can get about 12 so assets, but these assets are the most important ones. Mainly I use these dead leaves, these big grasses and small grasses. The big grasses and small grasses make contrast to a very good depth in the scene. You can insert this creeping bent grasses big, and then you want the level of detail high or low, if depending upon your system. I will leave everything on default, which is high, and then I will select scatter selected. If you select scatter selected, it will scatter the grasses on the plane, but if you select add to scene, it will just add the objects in the scene as a collection. So I will select scatter selected and click on OK, then wait for some time and scatter. So as you can see, the grasses are very good quality once in cycles, but both in EV. It has a pre-built material built into it, and now we want to change the weight pen mapping of this plane. So we want to know exactly the areas we want to be putting our grasses on. So we will click on we'll first expand this and select add effect layer, weight mask, and you can just select the weight pen map. Actually there is no weight pen map as we have not gone into the weight map mode settings, so we can just click on this mode, go to the weight pen mode and start painting out the areas which we want grasses on. This is just a basic tutorial, so I will not do it thoroughly. Basically the red areas are the portion where you get the most grasses, and yellow more lesser, green more lesser, and dark blue is nil. And so you can just depending on that, and if you want to see live results, you want to select this map, and as you can see, if we go out of this mode, we go to object mode. Now we select this map of, go to data group and say our map is named group. You can change the name to something like grass, and you need to write that same name here, and now you can get real life results. You can see the areas which we have painted now have grass, and go back to weight paint mode and start painting. Now if you are wondering why the number of grasses is so much low, it's because in the density, if you increase the density there will be more grasses, and if you decrease the density it will be less grasses. So increase that and you can see a lot of grasses here. And I keep on painting the areas which you want. This is called the add brush, and you can just go here and change it to multiply or subtract. Mainly the add and subtract are the most important brushes to use. You can subtract areas which you have painted, and you can add the areas. Second is the intensity. You can change by shift F is the shortcut to change the intensity, or you can change from the top panel also. So it will paint with a much lesser intensity. Go to add map, yes, it will paint with a much lesser intensity. So increase the strength to 0.2, and you can see that only that teal color is painted. If you increase, the green color and yellow areas are painted, and that areas does not get much grass as the red ones. So keep in mind that. And these are the basics of G-scatter. And if you want to change the scale, let's go to object mode. You want to change the scale of these grasses. They are already perfect, but if you want to change, you can select their main sizes. You can change the size of the grasses. If you want really big highlands, and change the color to yellow, make savannas, and you can scale on their individual axis. X scales them in the x-axis. This will probably look weird, and Y also, yeah, we'll just make a grasses falling scene. and Z just demolishes all the grasses, and you don't want to be changing these values. The only value you want to change is the main value. And if you want a seed of different grasses, you can just change, and you can also change how much influence this has, this scale settings have on the grasses. Usually leave it at 1. And rotation, you can also change the rotation to customize to your scene, but don't go high on the values or it will look bad. And geometries is just to instance a more larger collection. Now if you want to add another effect layer, you can just go to that library, click on some small grasses or white moss and scatter selected, and you do a separate weight map and do this over and over again. So these are the basics of G-scatter, and you can scatter almost anything and make scenes in seconds. I find this to be more easier than geometry nodes, but it is again personal preference and depends upon you.